Moises Sandoval. Mendoza was just 20 years old when he committed the crime that would seal his fate. Convicted of a brutal double homicide in Texas, Mendoza was found guilty of murdering a mother and her 5-year-old child during a home invasion in 2004. Prosecutors described the crime as unthinkably violent, with chilling details that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Mendoza had broken into the victim's home, searching for valuables. But when the mother confronted him, things turned deadly fast. The attack was rage-fueled and relentless. The prosecution argued that Mendoza showed no remorse during his trial, and the jury swiftly sentenced him to death. For nearly 21 years, Mendoza has sat in a maximum security prison, awaiting his fate. Legal battles extended his execution date multiple times, but in 2025, Texas finally scheduled his lethal injection. His lawyers tried every possible appeal, citing his young age at the time of the crime and arguing that his brain was not fully developed when he committed the murders. But the courts refused to grant him clemency. At 41 years old, Mendoza is now out of options. His execution is set for April 23, 2025. On that day, he will be strapped onto the gurney inside Texas's Huntsville Unit Execution Chamber, one of the most active death chambers in America. Despite having weeks to decide, Mendoza reportedly refused to request a special last meal. Under Texas law, inmates no longer receive special meal requests, following the controversy over extravagant final meals in previous cases. Instead, he will be given the standard prison meal served that day, most likely a simple plate of chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and green beans, a stark contrast to the extravagant last meals of other inmates in the past. What someone chooses to say in their last moments can be chilling, remorseful, or even defiant. Reports suggest that Mendoza has shown little to no emotion leading up to his execution. When asked if he had any last words, he allegedly responded, "I have nothing to say." Unlike many death row inmates who apologize to the victims' families or offer final words of reflection, Mendoza remains silent, cold, and unrepentant. On April 23rd, at precisely 6 p.m., prison officials will begin the lethal injection process. Within minutes, his breathing will slow as the drugs take effect. By 6:10 p.m., Moises Sandoval Mendoza will be officially pronounced dead. And just like that, after 2 decades of waiting, justice, or what the state deems as justice, will be served. The youngest prisoner on this list, a man who was only 18 years old when he committed his crime, and whose final words might just haunt you forever. In 1998, Jesse Dean Hoffman Jr. was just 18 years old when he committed a crime so brutal that it shocked even the most seasoned investigators. Hoffman was convicted of the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of a 28-year-old woman in Louisiana. The case was horrifying. He had reportedly lured the victim under false pretenses, kidnapped her, and taken her to a secluded area where the crime unfolded. Hoffman has spent 27 years at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola Prison, one of the toughest and most infamous prisons in America. His execution is officially scheduled for March 18, 2025. His reported final meal request: double bacon cheeseburger, large fries with extra cheese and chili, a 32-ounce vanilla milkshake, medium rare ribeye steak, pecan pie with whipped cream. Hoffman has reportedly spent weeks writing and rewriting his final words. A former prison guard, speaking anonymously, claims that Hoffman has been practicing a speech in his cell, but whether he follows through with it is uncertain. On March 18th at exactly 6:00 p.m., Hoffman will be strapped to the gurney. At 6:02 p.m., the execution drugs will start flowing through his veins. Within 2 minutes, he will begin gasping for air as the lethal dose takes effect. By 6:10 p.m., Jesse Dean Hoffman Jr. will be pronounced dead.
His long 27-year wait on death row will end in just 10 minutes.
Next up, a man who executed 4 people in a single night and now has one final request that no one expected. On March 25, 1997, in Columbus, Ohio, Kareem M. Jackson walked into a drug house, knowing that 4 men were inside. Within minutes, all 4 were dead, executed at close range with bullets to the head. The victims were shot execution style while sitting on a couch. Authorities said Jackson showed no hesitation. He lined the men up and shot them one by one. Then, he casually looted their pockets, stealing money, drugs, and jewelry before walking out like nothing had happened. For the past 27 years, Jackson has been housed at Ohio's Chillicothe Correctional Institution, awaiting his execution. But in 2025, his fate is sealed. Jackson's reported last meal request: a 10-piece bucket of fried chicken, a large pepperoni pizza, a dozen chocolate chip cookies, a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. He specifically requested KFC chicken, but because Ohio only allows locally available food, he might be served a generic prison fried chicken meal instead. In a handwritten letter, he addressed his family, his victims, and the public, saying, "I know I can't take back what I did. I took 4 lives, and I'll pay for that. I pray my victims' families find peace. I wish I could have been a better man." At 10 o'clock a.m. on December 10th, 2025, Jackson will be walked into the execution chamber where he will be pronounced dead. His execution will be one of the last in Ohio before the state considers changing its capital punishment policies, making it a historical moment for death row cases. And just like that, their stories end. Years, decades of waiting, reduced to a few final breaths. Some begged for mercy. Others embraced their fate. But once the IV is inserted, once the drugs take hold, there's no escape. Justice or vengeance? That's for you to decide. Let us know your thoughts below. Subscribe for more. In the United States, executions are rare, but even rarer when the condemned is a woman.